What is your purpose here? How many of you are there?
Welcome to Voyage of the Geek for another week, a show where we do post-reaction to classic films from across time and genre. We have a couple of standard warnings in place. First off, if you haven't seen the film we're reviewing, massive spoilers are involved, even to the point where we are likely to create a situation where you probably don't need to see the film. That's the level of spoilers.
Admittedly, some of the films we review, you probably don't want to see the film.
We might be doing them a favour.
People a favour.
And secondly, truth mileage may vary. Spurious content may be contained within. Joining me as always, Dan Miller, Tom McGill, together with Tony Oakton.
Hello.
And tonight we're looking at a piece of, it's classic cinema for a very unique set of reasoning. It does fall under the classic heading. Simply
In that it is old.
In that it is old, right? It is an 80s Australian adventure film. Little known to most circles. You could
To
certainly
all circles, I would suggest.
you could find information on IMDb, but try and find the film itself. You're going to have to go to YouTube. So there's a bit of a hint there. If you search for this film on YouTube, you can watch the full film, complete with the little Channel 7 icon in the bottom corner when it goes to commercial, proving that it played on Australian television at some point. It is the 1986 Australian adventure film Sky Pirates.
Also known as
Dakota Harris.
Dakota Harris.
That's right. In
That's two titles. for some reason.
certain other mark.
Is that
Maybe
the
we were
German
searching.
title?
No, I think Dakota Harris. I do not know why this film has two titles, but I do. You know, it is such a blatant Indiana Jones ripoff, and Indiana and Dakota are both states in the U.S.
It's not
And
even disguised really well.
No, just look at the poster. It is not in any way. It's just a blatant ripoff. Yeah,
Speaking-
or not even a ripoff at all. It's just blatantly inspired, but it's a completely different story.
Yes. It's the triggers in this film.
Are you being
are
sarcastic
uncanny.
when you say it's a completely different story?
Yeah, I was thinking.
No. This one's got more eyes in it. There's
Yeah.
not a single Moai in Indiana Jones, right? And he's got a rope. Indiana Jones has a whip.
Yes.
There's certainly more aeroplanes.
Yes. There's a cave with snakes. There's there's floating planes.
Inspiration abounds. That is
Yeah.
that is absolutely true.
Inspiration abounds. That's about the most positive way to put it.
Yes, I could understand if it tried to release into the American market in the day that Uncle George Lucas might have been a little bit cranky. He tends not to like it when other people copy his stuff. I think he tried to almost copyright space battles and lasers and everything when Battlestar Galactica tried to come on board. There was a lawsuit, and thankfully Battlestar Galactica won the lawsuit.
I don't know if Sky Pirates. We don't no, spoilers here, but I don't know if it's like champing at his heels to.
It would be flattery.
To-
It would be flattery to the filmmakers of Sky Pirates
If they got
George
sued.
Lucas
Yes.
started to
They'd be
sue them.
like,
Now we're talking.
yeah. Now we're
playing
in
with the big boys.
major league.
So, Dan, were you aware of this film in any way, shape, or form prior to the announcement that we were going to do it for the show?
I was blissfully unaware that it did not exist.
Yes.
That it
Yes.
did exist, and
bias here.
yes, my
So you'd never seen it until
Nope.
last week.
no idea.
Yep. And what about you, Tom?
Same. No, I think I heard about it somewhere, and I looked into it, and I thought, let's do this for a show because I just want to see. This sounds like a film up our stream.
There's certainly some meat on the bone for us to jump into. What about you, Tony?
Well, I was in the UK till 2000, so there's absolutely
There's no
way
chance.
that I would ever see
Yeah,
this.
there's
You
no
were fully
chance.
protected.
It certainly hit.
Isolated by 14,000 kilometres of ocean. So
It hit other markets. There were certainly movie posters for other languages, and usually the Dakota Harris was the was the one, but in Australia it was Sky Pirates.
I've never seen the Dakota Harris poster anywhere. I've never seen it referenced. I only see the Sky Pirate.
There was something familiar about when Tom first suggested it, and notice I put that on record.
It's not my fault.
There is a trailer that you can watch, and there was something familiar about the trailer for it, but absolutely I'd never seen it before last week, and I'm okay with that.
Yes.
So basically, what we do is we take a journey through the film. We stop off with interesting narrative discussion, visual effects, cinematography, film craft, anything that sort of pops up as we go through, for good or bad reasoning, and we use the narratives to drive us through that process. Dan, you are master of all things narrative. Where do we start?
Yes, where do we start? We normally start with just talking about the characters and a bit of an overview of the movie, so everybody's got the big picture of what we're talking about. So maybe that's the best place to start. Fortunately, there aren't too many characters in the film.
There's like 4.
Yes, there's like 4. So we have the main character, who is Discount Indiana Jones, and his name is Harris. What's his? Is that like? What does he have a first name? Does he have a
Flight
last
lieutenant.
name? Well, that's yes.
Isn't it Dakota?
Is it Dakota?
Is it Dakota?
Harris? That's
Is
his
it
name.
Dakota Harris? Is where I'm fishing. What I'm fishing for.
Was that ever mentioned in the film?
That's a good question.
It's certainly in IMDb.
Is
No,
he
it's not. In
sometimes?
IMDb, he's listed as Flight Lieutenant Harris.
Yeah, that's what I saw.
It's
so
quite
I don't know
possible,
if he has
yeah.
a first name or not. So
Yeah,
there's
Lieutenant Harris.
there's Harris, and he's kind of the good guy. And then the other main character is the bad guy, who's somebody or other Savage.
Savage. Just Savage.
Just Savage. And
It's a bit on the nose.
yes. And he's he's the bad guy. He's a sort of mustache twirling bad guy, right? So he's completely bad at everything. And then we have probably the only 2 other characters. One is sidekick chick, Melanie.
Yes.
And Melanie's father, who is the Reverend somebody...
Mitchell.
Reverend Mitchell.
Because her nickname in the film is Mitch.
Oh, okay.
Very Australian to nickname a female with
A male.
with a male sort of name. But yes, he calls her Mitch throughout the film. But yes,
She
her
calls him Harris.
yes.
Yeah. So, okay, so
Well,
we've...
Mitch is a male name.
Yep.
I'll put that on record.
Yes.
Yes.
All very.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we've got a log line. Have anybody got a log line? I'll give you my log line.
Go for it.
Let's find the MacGuffin. Where is the MacGuffin?
Yes.
Chase the MacGuffin. It's so, a MacGuffin is just some random thing that they're all after, and they all chase after that, and it's a kind of a magic-y space occult.
The important thing about a
MacGuffin.
MacGuffin is that it doesn't matter what it is.
Yes, it doesn't really matter, and I think even the scriptwriters would approve of that idea
Well,
that it.
I've seen the film
doesn't
twice
really
now,
matter.
and I don't know what it is.
Yes.
It's a
Before-
tablet that's broken into 3 pieces.
It's
It was-
tablets that give you power.
Assembled.
They
Yeah.
give you unlimited power.
Yeah.
Easter Island
that's it.
dudes.
No
who came
units
from
were given
space.
for the power it gives you.
No, it was alien
Unlimited.
power.
Pure alien power.
Pure
Quite possibly.
alien. They were doing experiments with antimatter, they said,
Ah,
because
yes,
they were
that's right.
referencing the Philadelphia experiment. So maybe it was antimatter power.
It's kind of got everything a bit sort of smushed in. I think there's mention of curses. There's
Triangle, aliens.
Yeah.
aliens are thrown in
Easter
there.
Island heads.
Easter Island.
Aliens, flying saucers are
Yes.
visible, and lasers get fired.
Lasers, illusions,
Yep.
holograms,
Time travel.
time travel. Yes, it's and lots of things from other movies.
Yes.
like the
Yeah.
Philadelphia experiment. So another
Philadelphia
movie.
experiment. There was Bermuda Triangle type angle to it as
Yes,
well.
yep.
A lost section of the ocean where ghost ships are.
There
So
is,
yes, it taps into a lot of
Like Dan
zeitgeist.
said, there's time travel, but you make it sound like the film needs time travel anyway. No, it's just a random 5 seconds of time travel that lead nowhere and go nowhere. It's just bizarre. There is The Deer Hunter gets quoted a lot as being influenced for this film, which is Robert De Niro film about post-Vietnam
Yes,
trauma. And there's a section here where they do play Russian roulette.
yes. Now, it's before we leave the
We have to talk
the
about that.
details and get into the narrative. The cast does actually include some Australian cinema royalty,
Yes.
Yes.
namely Bill Hunter,
Bill Hunter.
Yes.
but also Simon Chilvers, who played the Reverend, is also part of the Australian cinema royalty and has quite a long career. John Hargraves, the actual main actor, is credited with a lot of very good films. This might not be one of them, but definitely some very good films. And it's probably wise not to, if you ever do see this film, to judge the Australian cinema industry by it. But it's not that far from where we were in cinema in the 80s.
Have a look at Mad Max, the original.
We're definitely going to draw some parallels and even some technical linkages from between this and Mad Max, including some shots that I believe were leftover shots from Mad Max, the original first Mad Max.
Or at least
right,
storyboards.
So I believe that both of these films shared a lot of the crew. And we'll touch on that a little bit later. But yes, it's a very sort of connected little industry, Melbourne-based.
Well, okay, now I'm curious.
film.
Were they made in the same area?
I think they were made literally with the identical crew, and
Okay.
I'll draw the parallels later on.
But several years apart. Many years apart.
Not huge amount, no.
Mad Max was 1980 or something.
No,
It's only 6 years.
Five
This is
or six.
1985.
86,
Well, yeah, I dispute that.
probably shot 85.
If you watch the end credits, it says, in Roman numerals, it says 1985.
My feeling is that it was probably shot earlier in the 80s, right?
Oh, and then-
then it
okay.
took
a while.
3 weeks to get to the cinema. 3
3
years
years
to get to the cinema. But yes, there is a little bit of royalty in this in the cast, but possibly wasted.
Possibly.
So
I
I didn't think it was a bad film. I mean, I know I'm going out on a limb here, and I've been pretty negative about a lot of the films we've watched, but I didn't think this was appalling. I didn't get to the end and think, well, that was a waste of half of my life I'm never going to get back.
yeah,
But then I do like airplanes.
No, it's good, and we want some contrast in the show to make the show
and
more
I do
interesting.
like airplanes, and it's nice that it's got, and I like particularly like World War II prop planes. And
They
there's some nice photography.
there was budget.
Oh, yeah.
There was a budget,
Yeah,
and you could
absolutely.
see that there was a budget that was spent. Definitely, this is not a B. Well, it's not a amateur movie.
Actually, it's one of the
Made by
few
people.
films I've watched with us where I actually regretted the fact the quality wasn't better. 'Cause
yes, the actual
quality-
production, the video quality
video quality
of the
poor, which
YouTube
meant
is
that
quite
some of
poor.
the shots of the airplanes flying, you couldn't see them very well. I would like to see them better because it's nice.
I know what you're talking about.
So
Yep.
yes, the actors weren't bad.
No.
The money that was spent in the right places,
Yeah. There's some good stunts.
but it was not spent on the script, and that's the
Oh,
problem.
it's a derivative piece of tosh.
Yes.
And that's the issue.
Yeah.
If everything was the same but a different or better script, this film would have made it. I think 100% of the blame that this movie has is with the concept.
Poor screenplay.
Yes.
I think it made its money back,
Yes.
and I think it made a little bit of change on
Yeah.
top of that.
Yep.
So-
I don't have any details about budget and
I think it
box
was
office.
something like 8 million budget and 40 million.
Yeah, something like
Return
3
or
or 4
something.
times.
Well, with a
over.
poster like that, you
Yeah.
can get people through the turnstiles with a poster like
Oh, it's
that.
all the short-sighted people who thought, oh, it's another Indiana Jones. Let's
It's
go
Indiana
to the drive-in.
Jones 2.
I watched a document leading up to this, trying to find information on this film, which is Scars.
Yeah.
I watched a documentary on SBS yesterday, which is the not quite Hollywood, on Australian exploitation films of the 70s and 80s. Because on Wikipedia, I saw that this film was being mentioned in that documentary. So I thought, okay.
I think it's
90 minute-
available, that the doco you're talking about is available at the moment
It's just on SBS.
Amazon Prime as well.
Okay, yeah, I watched it on SBS on demand. But because the film was mentioned, I was sitting through a 90-minute documentary, and it starts in the 70s, and it's mostly, sex movies, and goes through the Barry Bazar Mackenzie series, and then over into Mad Max, and just shows how the Australian film industry, what they produced in order to make money in those years. And I was 80 minutes into the documentary, and not a drop of Dakota Harris had been.
Which is why you're watching it.
I'm still watching the whole thing. And then they showed the trailer.
Okay.
And then some guy is a trailer for Dakota Harris, or bits of the trailer show, and then some guy, one of the directors that they keep interviewing in the documentary, just says it's a piece of shit, and that was it. And then they move on to the next movie. That's all we got.
I'm pretty sure it's still up on, I think, when I was doing research on it, I think it's still up on Screen Australia's website. up on their website?
I'd say
I don't know.
it would have copped some funding. Probably Screen Victoria, Screen Australia all dipped in those days. But yes, there's a handful of movies that came out of the Victorian film industry that have a very similar feel, very similar cinematography, sound, cutting, editing, and I think they just all were the same people. I just don't think it was a very big industry. And so you can feel a lot of similarity in this film to a lot of the films from that period, especially early 80s. I think we got a bit better. We brought in more expertise. We shipped off more expertise to get better in other markets, and they came back. Some of the best cinematographers in Australia have gone on to be Academy Award winners. They started in this era.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cutting their teeth on it.
Yep.
Yep.
And the guy who wrote the script to this, the person responsible for it all, John D. Lamond, was a film director. He was a screenwriter. He was an editor, and he was a distributor for films. And he was actually in the old days when the first Barry Mackenzie films were made. Now, Tony, you living in secluded England would have been protected from all the. But there's stuff that came across. There's stuff that came across to the UK, especially because this is Aussies and all the old Monty Python Australians that I grew up with were all based on the Barry Mackenzie movies because that's what made it. The Foster's drinking Australian with broad foul-mouthed humor, and. John D. Lamond, the scriptwriter to this film, was peddling these movies on the road. Back then, they didn't have a distributor, and he was going from cinema to cinema and screening them and making money with that, and was then hired by Roadshow.
Oh, really?
Roadshow took up the distribution of the Barry Mackenzie films.
I think with this as well.
And then John Lamond was working for Roadshow, but he was doing distribution for them, but he was also writing films, he was directing films, and he was editing this little piece of diamond that we're looking at here tonight. So, Dave, you might be totally right with your three years of production time because the guy who wrote it and produced it and edited it was totally busy with lots of other stuff.
They're always the projects that take forever to release when there's a central human that is fiddling with it forever and is not backed, is using his own money. We've run into those stories before. There's a local production that came out of Canberra, the sci-fi type one, and it was the same. It was shot, 4 years earlier, and it was still nowhere near a cinema release.
It funnels through as a very small.
And he did the same thing. He travelled all over the world selling it, trying to sell distribution of it. Those passion projects, they can take forever to get to the cinema.
All right, so shall we move into the story?
Let's do it.
All right. So it starts off with a bit of a narrative that gives you a sort of a voiceover beginning that explains this story.
Well, it's aliens. Starts out with aliens.
It explains, right at the start, ancient aliens came to Australia, and I don't know, whatever they did. They dropped off their
Easter egg
tablets.
Yes, they had some stone tablets for some reason.
Because aliens.
Yes. Which
And-
possessed ultimate power.
Always.
Those that possess the tablets could wield ultimate power.
Yes. So they do a bit of a voiceover to start, but then it kind of moves into the story where we pick up with it's old Dakota Harris, and he's got to transport part of these tablets. Right? They've been broken into three.
But there is a little preamble at the beginning where
Yes.
there's actually a scene where the tablets get broken.
Yeah,
Oh, yes.
they get
The
discovered.
archaeologist
Yes.
discovers them
In a
when they
cave.
break, and then he takes one of them with him, and the others.
Different people, they
we
start
grab
glowing. They grow,
Yeah.
crack into three. They start growing, and different hands grab towels over the glowing
Yeah.
tablets and shove them off screen, and then we.
That's
don't see
right.
them
Yeah,
anymore.
you're right. There was like a grave, not a grave
Which
robbery,
was
but like a tomb
1886
robbery
or
or
something.
something.
It was a
rather.
few decades earlier, and now we're in 1948 or something after the Second World War.
Yeah.
Shortly
And
after.
The tablet's been broken into three pieces, and obviously the story is going to be about how they found the three pieces.
Yeah, and the breaking of the tablets is the cause of the cave, bad things happening. So we're introduced to that notion that don't mess with the tablets because bad things happen, and there's a curse that goes with that, which we'll touch on later on.
That's right. So, everything's kind of associated with this aliens curses. So they've got their tablet piece, and it's on a World War II aeroplane, like a DC-7 or something or other.
Yeah, we're introduced to our main character
Yep.
arriving at an airbase without any idea of where he's going, just that he has a mission. And we're also introduced to the notion that he's a bit of he has some notoriety. We're sort of introduced to that by the guard that greets him at the gate. And they're all sort of starstruck.
Oh, yeah,
by
they sort of say, that's him.
That's Lieutenant Harris.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't be alive if not for him.
Yes.
Yes.
So he's a bit of a hero. He's a war hero, right? And it's towards I believe it's towards the end of the war that this takes place.
I think so, yeah.
And he finds out that he has to fly a mission to America. Passenger being an American
There's a whole bunch of people on the
colonel,
plane.
bunch of army men,
Yep.
and a crate.
And a crate.
Oh, and a vicar.
And his,
and a vicar.
his,
Yes, the Reverend somebody or other.
as well as Mr. Vicious or Mr.
Savage.
Savage.
Yes.
Mr. Savage, who
Savagely
is
vicious.
a Australian, I guess, superior to Dakota Harris.
He's
Yes,
like a,
he's in charge.
he's like a kind of an equal. They're sort of
Nemesis.
they're opposite. Yeah, Nemesis. There you go. He's a pilot as well.
And Harris doesn't like him immediately.
They don't like each other.
They've knocked around together, and you can tell
They're
instantly.
rivals.
Yeah.
as
None of
well.
us like him because it's so blatantly broadcast that he's the bad guy.
Yes.
Yes, he's got a sticker on his forehead saying, "I am the bad guy." And now, what I think happens is that you shouldn't touch ancient powers and tablets that are cursed from other dimensions. And somebody on the airplane breaks
Just
that rule.
want to say one thing before we get into this. We also get introduced to Mitch briefly
Yes.
before this.
Yes, with some awkward scenes
There is some awkward scenes, and it's awkwardly misogynistic.
in front of the father.
Yeah, it's quite.
Yeah.
It is, and yet they never really embrace that misogynism. It's sort of it's there.
Yes.
I think maybe they thought they had to be a bit misogynistic for the Australian audience.
Yeah.
It's a kind of like token misogynism.
Yeah.
And then they forget about it, and they don't
Almost so they can
Yeah.
they can shoehorn in the damsel element from
Yeah.
Indiana Jones,
Yeah.
right? But the Aussie women can take care of themselves a
Yeah,
little
later
better.
on she takes care of herself.
Yeah, she's the one that's knocking people out.
She does, yeah.
Yeah.
But again, that's exactly kind of what happens in Indiana Jones, right? In Raiders.
Yes.
It's the same character out of Raiders.
Yes,
Right?
indeed. Yep.
All right. So anyway,
Off they fly.
Off they fly. One of the people in the back of the plane opens up the box and starts fiddling around with a tablet.
Yes.
You know,
Yep.
shouldn't be doing that, of course. And
Interdimensional mayhem ensues.
yes, and so dark storm clouds start to surround the plane, and lightning.
And light comes out of the inside of the plane. So, or as the special effects do it, it looks like it's behind. The special effects weren't bad.
The special
The
effects.
special effects
Yes.
weren't for the 19.
I thought they were good.
Yeah.
No, there was again the money was spent in good places, and so we see the airplane from the inside shaking and lit. And there's this bright orange light, which is the theme of these tablets. Every time the tablets
Yes.
get activated, we see a bright orange light coming from somewhere off screen, somewhere behind something,
As you do.
and they fly through. Oh, they have some Mustangs or something accompanying them. They have
Two fighters.
some two fighter planes,
And we do cut to a scene where the fighters have no idea where the plane's gone.
Yeah, so our plane is now in a storm, in a time warpy thing,
Yep.
because they get broadcasts from the sinking Titanic and from
Harris
the
Harris
astronauts
believes they're under attack.
landing on the moon is
Doesn't he?
broadcast. Yeah, he thinks but then the Mustangs are flying quietly over beautiful
Yeah.
blue skies.
Yep.
And they have nowhere that the DC-10 has suddenly disappeared.
Yeah.
And they've got giant mower heads flying around
Well,
in
they
the
start
sky.
to see stuff through the cockpit window that quite strange. And it starts with big moai heads, but then there's some other items, isn't there?
What else was there?
Well, there's a future 1980s jet.
Jet plane, yeah.
There's a satellite that actually hits the window. So you see an actual satellite spinning,
Yep.
and then it hits the window, and you see a crack in the window of the plane. So it's in the same physical space.
For this film,
But no one mentions anything about the flying things out the window.
It's just bizarre. In this film, there's a fantastic opportunity to play a drinking game every time glass gets smashed.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That's a perfect. You could get it's not too much, it's not too little, but this is a noticeable amount of glass being smashed as soon as the opportunity arises.
Yeah. The glass budget was quite well off for this production.
All right. So there's all sorts of craziness going on outside, and despite Dakota Harris being the best plane in the Air Force, the best pilot in the Air Force, They have to crash land on the surface of the ocean.
Yeah, I think as a result of hitting a satellite.
Maybe. And you're clonking a mower head. And,
They're going in.
Okay.
And it's important to note they're on their way. They're not going all the way to America in one flight. They were going to Bora Bora
Yeah.
and then jumping from there over to America. And I believe the reason they were going to Bora Bora was that one of the stone tablet pieces are at Bora Bora,
Yes.
being held by a professor.
Yes. And this gives a kind of a story element that I thought was a little bit weird, is that they keep trying to go to an island that isn't Easter Island,
Yes.
which is ultimately the island that they want to go to,
Yes.
and which I felt needlessly confusing.
They crash, and as it turns out,
They
it's
go to multiple
3,000.
islands.
They see Easter Island, but where they crash is literally 3,000 kilometres
it's
from
just-
Easter
it's
Island.
kind of confusing as to what's
Possibly
actually
in
going
the
on there.
different time zone or something. So they crash into the water, and then now we're like, oh no, the aeroplane's sinking.
Yeah.
So everybody has to jump into a life raft,
Yep. Harris chucks the crate
trying to save.
overboard.
Well, were they trying to chuck it into the life
They
raft?
wanted it in the life raft. He said, that's not going in there. And he just proceeds to chuck it in the ocean and it sinks.
It sinks to the bottom of the ocean, which is not so bad, not as bad as you think, because later on we find out that the ocean is probably
20 meters deep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
knee
Yes,
deep or
not
something.
deep at all.
Because they go down to fish it out later on.
Yeah.
So
And they
now,
lose some men. They're now down to 5.
5 in the raft.
There's 3 initially in the raft. They take off, and Dakota Harris stays back to save another guy who
That's
they're
right.
going, let's leave him, and he goes, no, I will save you. So they save the guy, and now there are 5 people
Yes.
in a life raft.
Rowing through the mystery
Yeah.
fog.
Suddenly it's foggy, and there are crashed airplanes all
Yes.
around them. It's a
scuttled clippers and
essentially they're
you
now
know,
in the Bermuda
galleons.
Triangle.
Boat for
So it's
the
basically-
definitely experiment.
Bermuda Triangle.
Yes, the Idaho, I think it is.
Idaho turns
Yeah.
up, yeah.
They even go on board one of the ships.
That's right.
Because it's Australia, it should be like the Bermagui Triangle, the Ballarat Triangle.
When they find the Idaho and go on board, they also have a vision of the crew, don't they? The
They
crew
do, yes.
appears in front of them and
Yeah.
then disappears just
Yes.
as quick.
That's right. And I thought at that moment, so they're on, what's the ship called again?
Idaho.
Idaho. Yeah. So, and that's the one that has the, I don't know, it was
There's
in
a
the
cloaking device.
Well, there's a cloaking device experiment, and yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we can see some of the US sailors. Yeah, but I thought the acting was really weird. It was like all of these sailors appear, and then there's this magic lightning that appears, and then they all act.
And they all gone.
Yeah, and then our heroes are like, oh, whatever, that's weird.
Let's get back in the dinghy.
Yeah, let's get back in the dinghy. And okay, so they do get back in the dinghy.
They get back in the dinghy and row away.
Mm-hmm.
Bad guy, what's his name? Starker? What's his name?
Oh,
Savage.
vicious,
Savage. Savage wanted to stay on the Idaho, which is probably what I would have done as well. Let's stay on the big boat.
You've got bunks on the bed.
Not
on
get
the
back in the
thing,
little
probably.
tiny diggy.
Yes.
Um,
Well, you got
and then they proceed to row
Showers.
away. And then we cut to another scene. And 2 of the people in the
Yeah.
boat are completely dead and gone.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's gone. It's just,
Yes.
he just said, it just goes black, fades back in. Now there are only 3. Oh, we lost Tom and Dick.
Yeah, it's like a voiceover,
A
isn't
quick
it?
saying, we just lost them, and they're gone now.
Yes,
that was it.
No explanation.
I watched that
We
multiple
ate them.
times because it was so
Yeah,
shocking.
we ate them. That's what I assumed.
Yeah. So yeah, there was like 5 people in scene 37. Then in scene 38, we're now down to 3 people, and
It's almost like they walked off the set. It's like, nah, I've had enough. Not interested anymore.
they actually got rid of those 3 people with like a journal voiceover.
Yeah.
It was Dakota Harris saying,
right.
"I started to keep a journal.
I started keeping my own journal.
my own journal, and we're down to 3 because the other 2 guys disappeared
Without
And
any
that was
explanation
it.
of how.
And we never mentioned
or
the
how,
journal again.
Or how
ever
long.
Again.
You know, were they out there for a week or a month? Or
And it's one of the guys that he saved from the airplane, right? So
true.
you'd think that leads somewhere.
He saved him
just
to
saved
eat
this
him.
guy's- Hey, little morsel.
Yeah. This movie, I was thinking about this, right? I've got a joke coming up, right? That, you know, the show don't tell.
Yeah.
This movie, it's sometimes it doesn't show or tell. You know? It's just like, okay, we're just moving on right now.
It just jams it in
Yes.
in the edit. And all of a sudden there's a scene or there's something there. It's like, where did that come from?
Well, another thing is that, the next thing that happens is that they see the vision of this island, which is kind of, I guess it's supposed to be Easter Island.
They say the name. Vicious
Yeah.
Savage says.
Does he say
says
Easter
the name of the-
Island?
I think it's Easter Island. It's
He
got
says
the,
there are three things.
statue got
I don't know. He says the Bermuda Triangle and some other thing, and then there is this bloody blah island, which we call the Easter Islands or whatever.
Okay.
He gives it by name, but he also, and Dakota Lieutenant Harris says, "Oh, that can't be right. This is
Yeah, we're
5,000
3,000
kilometers off course."
Yeah.
We don't have fuel to get to that. Anyway, then the island disappears, and it's like, oh, okay.
Yep.
And now we're on the ocean.
Yep.
And then a ship turns up, and they get rescued.
Exactly.
And we're like,
And
oh,
we're now
okay.
back in Australia and the
we're
courts.
enough of that. Let's just move on.
Yep.
Yes. So, all right. So they get back, and
Court martial.
now it's a court martial. So now we're in one of those situations where the hero is being accused, of something they didn't commit type thing. So the basic plan is that Lieutenant Harris has been accused of, deliberately ditching the aeroplane and chucking the magic tablets overboard.
Yep. Responsible for
They
killing the
say-
general.
They say he lost his way, he got lost, ran out of fuel, and and doesn't want to admit it.
And then made
Yes.
up some story about being off Easter Island, which was 3,000 kilometres away from where they could have possibly gone.
Yes. And the guy who's accusing him is the co-pilot who was sitting right next to him during the whole affair.
And his key witness.
And the key witness
But also the bad guy.
is also the bad guy.
Yes.
So anyway, they throw Harris in jail, and they don't throw the co-pilot in jail for some reason.
No.
They get
And,
to,
well, the co-pilot was in charge of the mission.
yeah. He was
was
the
the-
one leading the
Savage.
accusation,
Savage.
pretty much.
The Savage was the key witness that lied in the court martial and resulted in Harris getting locked up. But he was in charge.
Okay. Well, anyway, he wants the power for himself,
Yes,
obviously,
yes.
right? Now, the next thing that happens is Dakota Harris escapes. Oh, no. We're going to talk about every bloody thing in this movie.
Well, Mitch runs up,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Melanie runs up and says, "I can't find my father."
Yes, help me find my father. But remember, he's being marched off to jail.
Yes.
There's guards who are
Yes.
like taking him to jail, and she's like,
And
so
it's-
you just think of her, what's going through her mind? She's like, now, what am I going to do to
No, he's the
find my
hero.
dad?
Well, he'd be within his rights to turn around and say, "Can you not see these guards?
I'm being taken to jail.
Gunpoint."
Yes, I don't know. But then he escapes, right?
Yes.
Dakota Harris escapes. No,
Yes.
no jail's
Not,
gonna...
not without learning from Vicious Savage that the father had been kidnapped, right?
Yeah.
That
Is that
happens
the
while
whole thing
he's-
with the gun and the affidavit?
Yes.
And I couldn't understand what was
Yeah.
going on
The
there.
truth about the mission was known to the person that was in charge of the court martial in the form of the affidavit. That's why he snuck back in. He went back in with the gun to try to get the
Oh,
affidavit.
so the truth was that the
Yes.
crate was filled with magical.
They knew about it.
magical MacGuffin stuff.
because they knew about it when they loaded it on his plane in the first place. They just didn't tell him what was in the crate. But the higher ups in the army knew what was in the crate.
All right.
And so how does he escape? How does he manage to get away from the
Karate chop.
guards?
Karate chop.
He basically turns around, takes the guy's gun,
Yeah.
and then just pushes them out of the jeep,
Yeah. Jumps out of the Jeep, jumps over a fence and runs away.
Yes.
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 gets the gun, talks to the guy who runs the court martial, and then jumps out of the window. Here's another breaking glass moment.
Then drops his gun for some reason.
Now, the narrative
Butterfingers.
splits off, doesn't it? We see this happen, his escape,
Yeah.
but we also see what's happening with her. She seems she works in a library or a
oh, no,
museum
she-
or something.
I-
Melbourne
I-
Museum, by the
Did
looks
you
of
know
it.
where she works? I imagine.
I think
she
so
was
because
doing
there was
secret-
a creepy mummy that sort of came out of a closet at one point, and in a library that probably wouldn't be there.
No, it was the Melbourne Museum was credited in the end credits. So I think that's
I
what
think
they
she's
are.
in a
Oh,
museum.
that's interesting. It probably was made in Victoria. I thought she was researching down there into ancient aliens.
It looked
or
like she
something or
worked
other.
there.
Okay,
Because the
maybe she
boss
worked
of the museum said, "You can lock up, can't you?" Sort of thing. I just
Oh,
assumed
yeah,
she
okay,
knew
that's
she
right.
worked
That's
there.
right. That's right. All right, so there's going to be some shenanigans going on.
Because Harris what's his name?
Savage.
Savage is now stalking her.
Yes.
Why was he so? So he wanted to sort of bury the truth, didn't he?
But she knows all there is to know about the artifacts,
That's
as we
right.
later learn. So
That's
maybe he
right.
wanted her for that.
And he's going to try and kill her in the library.
Yeah, he's got a gun.
And a hand grenade.
I'm glad you mentioned that
How could you not?
because that's what you take, right?
When you go on an assassination, yes, you're like,
no. If you want to be taken seriously, you have a hand grenade.
You do.
People
You
take
do.
you seriously when you.
It's a next level
Yeah.
up. It's up to 11.
up the ante. Somebody pulls a gun on you.
You pull a
gun-
hand grenade.
You say, yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
So chase ensues
yes.
around the museum.
Yes.
And upstairs, downstairs, hiding, running. It starts to get spooky. Mm-hmm. Like I mentioned before, she turns one corner and gets slammed in the face by a mummy.
Random mummy.
So there's screaming. It almost took a little bit of a B horror sort of flavour around then, didn't it, Tone?
Did a bit.
Remember, this movie has lots of things from other movies.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
And then we have an interesting scene.
Yes.
We have
The elevator.
The elevator scene.
Fantastic scene.
Describe the elevator scene. Tony, go ahead and describe the elevator scene.
Well, he shoots the wire cable using a gun, which is impossible.
You're missing the important feverishly pushing the button
Oh, yeah.
rather than going up the stairs that are right next to it.
Yeah.
Waiting for it to come down, and then the lift door opens, and what do we see?
the
cleaning
The cleaning lady.
Yes.
The Reinemacher Frau.
And the frightfully scared damsel in distress doesn't say anything to the cleaning lady at all. She just gets in, closes the door, turns around and stares at her.
And what does the cleaning woman do?
Stares back.
With a camera going down from below up her chin, like in a horror film, with a torch almost shining down her face.
Yeah.
She sits there
Holding a broom.
freakishly framed in camera as if she was some weird clown.
Yep.
Now, her entry onto the film is interesting. What was her exit?
Even more interesting. So, look, I'm a little bit fuzzy, but somehow Savage, who's hunting her,
Yes.
ends up chucking the grenade into the lift,
Blows the floor out of the lift,
as you do. No.
resulting in the cleaning lady tumbling to her death down the shaft.
Hang on.
Wait. We're going way too fast.
So we're Mitch. We're in the lift,
Yes.
and we see a hand grenade
Yes.
dropping in the floor in front of us.
Yes.
What do we instinctively do? To
Turn
protect-
away.
We turn away.
That's right. Protect your eyes.
They can't hurt you if you're not looking at the hand grenade.
And it is true.
Yeah.
Because the hand grenade explodes in the lift
Yes.
and takes the floor out, and
And
the cleaning,
the cleaning
woman
lady.
goes, "Wow!"
See, she was looking at the hand grenade,
Yes.
whereas our
good
damsel was not looking at the hand grenade.
You
thus-
get shrapnel in your eyes if you look at
yeah,
it.
and the hole that is formed by the hand grenade only forms under people that are looking at the hand grenade.
So anyway,
So she falls to her death.
yeah, she must have been at least
The
a meter from the hand
cinematography
grenade.
here is another low point in that
Yeah,
film.
yeah, I
the
believe so too.
entire film does not have good camera.
Almost
placement.
like they knew they needed something, so they went and shot something.
But
you know,
the lift scene
shoved
is
it
one
in
of the most
later.
confusingly shot ones.
I
It
don't
is,
even why it was there, really.
Yeah.
It's completely
this
unnecessary.
is- that is true for many things in this film, right? They just appear because,
yeah.
and that's the only reason. But we needed a gruesome death of somebody, and it can't be the Mitch. So somebody needs to quickly be introduced and then quickly be killed, so that we have a memorable thing to just now spend 5 minutes talking about.
Now, I don't know what the sequence of events was in the scriptwriter's mind, but as soon as the explosion from the grenade went off, blew the hole, drops the cleaning woman, the shrapnel misses the heroine, but it manages to cut the wires on the lift.
I thought that was the guy.
Well, no, he was shooting the wires.
He was
Oh,
shooting
was
the-
he?
Yeah.
It was an old-fashioned lift with lots of open area. So he was literally able to sort of peer over the top of the see-through sort of doors and started shooting at the wires. And they were down to their last thread.
Yes.
And then he ran away.
Yes, that's right. And he's replaced by
Harris, who
Dakota
turns up
Harris.
exactly at the right time.
Who is calm as always in this film. He never breaks a sweat or anything. He's always very calm, and he says, "Yeah, okay, I'll give you a hand." Come on."
Yeah. Calm, verging on a specific type of boring.
Oh,
He's
yes.
like, well, okay, I'll pull you out then.
He's got some one-liners in this
Yeah,
film, hasn't he?
yeah,
There's a bit
yeah.
of James Bond
Shouldn't hang around
ism
like
going
this.
on.
Or something is what he
Yeah.
says.
What I thought was weird, though, is that you can imagine that the lift is under tension with the girl in the lift, and as soon as he lifts her off the lift,
It drops.
that causes it to break and fall.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's correct according to
It
physics.
has to happen so that the lift can crash.
Yes.
Yes. How else would the lift crash?
So
All right.
so they escape the clutches of the bad guy.
They escape the clutches of the bad guy, and then they go and basically have a deep and meaningful, right?
Yeah, and she informs him that her father's been kidnapped.
Yep. And
And I think she releases a little bit of information about the what the MacGuffin is.
yes, they have a
that
chat
time.
about the MacGuffin. Yep. And they
And-
talked about, I think I wrote some of it down here.
Yeah.
It's associated with ultimate power, ancient aliens, something to do with the rock formerly known as Ayers Rock.
Because it's a source of power. It's a monolith source of power, I think he says.
It kind of looks like a Moai head thing because it's a big rock. So
To me, it looked like a way of jury rigging in an Australian location because we never see it. Ayers Rock is never seen in the film.
We never see it.
The place they go to, which is supposed to be Ayers Rock in the film, doesn't exist. There's no pub full of post-apocalyptic hippies and bikies and soldiers, like the weirdest crowd you've ever seen in your life, serving beer in baked bean tins and things. It's just weird. It's bizarre. And it all takes place at Ayers Rock.
Yeah.
Right.
And he does ask, why are we going there? And she says, because it's a monolith.
Yes.
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
Yes.
And maybe that's how they'll find out where the father's being held.
So they journey to the rock formerly known as Ayers Rock.
As we say today, days.
And I don't know what happens then. They end up in the pub.
They go
right?
to the pub. They want
this
information
This
about...
is the Raiders bar fight from Raiders,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
So
There's a whole bunch of... but there's the clientele is also from Mad Max.
Yes.
It's
biker crazy people.
biker crazy people with nitrogen fueled car engines. Pretty boy and
Yep.
what's his name? The bad guy in Mad Max.
The toe cutter.
Toe cutter, whatever. They're all
the
there.
toe cutter.
Yeah, they're all there having beers together with army, with soldiers. There's people in uniform, just like Mr. Harris here, who always wears his flight jacket and his hat on a 45-degree tilt.
That's right.
And they're having a good, drink beer and play pool and listen to rock music. And he goes to the bartender and says, I want to get some information. And he says, you got to go to talk to Bill Hunter over there.
Yeah.
Yes. And Bill Hunter is
Playing the crazy guy in the corner.
playing
He
crazy
sits
guy in
there
the
with
corner.
his woman. There's a woman with him, and they
Yeah.
just sit there on the table shuffling cards.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, she gets accidentally thumped quite hard, doesn't she, at the start of the fight?
Yep.
I think he lashes out at old Harris, totally misses,
Harris
and
nudges
the
and he
poor woman
punks
sitting
her
over here just
straight on the nose.
cold,
Yes.
just right in the face.
So they have to get some information from him for the next stage in the MacGuffin hunt. Right?
Now, what's a good way to get that information,
Yes.
Dan?
The obvious.
Yes, maybe you bribe him. Maybe you ask him nicely.
Yeah.
Maybe you buy him a drink.
Now,
He does bribe.
He
him
offers
because
he offers money,
He does offer money.
and then
yes.
Bill Hunter says, "I'll play you for it."
That's right. That's right.
In his
Yep.
thickest Australian accent, right?
Yep.
I'll play you for it, and he's talking about cards. What does Harris do with that offer?
He ups the ante slightly.
Escalation like you wouldn't believe, and turns it into Russian roulette.
So yes.
Now, what are the rules of this Russian roulette? You have to put something into the kitty. That's what you're offering to take your turn at potentially shooting yourself in the brain in return for information.
I was having trouble following the rules when watching this section, but yes.
Yes. Now, if Harris puts in something of value and then successfully doesn't blow his brains out, Bill Hunter has to tell him something that he asks. And then we have that old cliche where he only tells him a little bit so that we can keep pulling triggers, right? But if
Bill Hunter.
Bill Hunter, when it's his turn,
what's his name in the film?
if he doesn't blow his
O'Reilly.
brains out, he gets the thing. There's really nothing in it for him to play the risk game because he doesn't need anything other than the thing.
Yes. It's
No
not,
purpose whatsoever to involve a gun
yes.
at all.
And the laissez-faire attitude with which he takes, sits here at a slant, takes the gun, click.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Puts it back down. There's
Yes.
Now
No
I don't
concern.
know what the rules are for Russian roulette, but don't you spin the
You're
chamber?
supposed to spin it each time.
Yeah, but they're not spinning it each time.
Now-
They're just passing it backwards and forwards. And
Now, if you
Exactly.
spin it each time, Harris can't say the Dirty Harry line
At the end.
about counting how many times did it click. You know, how many
Exactly.
times did
Do
it
you feel
fire?
lucky? I don't think he
I
used
think
the
he
word
does- he
punk.
does
But
say
he
that.
does, he
So
does say it.
Yes,
Yeah.
he
Do you feel
almost
lucky?
completely says the Dirty Harry line.
He
I
just
don't know.
doesn't put punk in it, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so now how does this end?
finally comes around to Bill Hunter. He starts to realise after the "Do you feel lucky" line, he starts to realise I'm about to blow my head off, and I think he was only for a cheap necklace or something. You know, there wasn't much at stake by that time. And he turns the gun on Harris.
Yes,
And
he
shoots him in the face. And realises that they're blanks
they're only blanks.
the whole time.
Now that's some pretty clever stuff, Mr. Harris.
Yeah.
So Mr. Harris happened to have blanks, access to blanks somehow.
Yes.
Maybe back at the library, he was like thinking, you know what? If I ever get into a situation, I'm going to bring the blanks with
Need a
me.
gun with some blanks.
Now, the other problem, of course, is that blanks are filled with gunpowder.
Oh yeah,
I
at that
understand.
close range. If you hold, yes,
You
Yes.
still blow your brains out,
Yes.
even if it's a blank.
Brandon Lee is a prime example.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, Bill
Hunter,
Hunter
O'Reilly.
is quite miffed and cranky that blanks were used,
Yeah.
and then proceeds to take a wild swing at Harris and punches out the poor woman to the left of him
Sit next to him.
in a big way. Like it's a real big hit. It was a high point of the film because it was a real slapstick moment, wasn't it? It's like, where the hell did that come from? You couldn't have picked in a million years that she's about to get her lights punched out by Bill Hunter, right? Because she was his girl, sort of thing.
Yep.
Right. And then a brawl breaks out. Harris is doing pretty well.
Is he though?
I thought
Is
he
he?
was until he got outside.
I think he says, "Do what I'm doing," and immediately gets knocked out. and then-
Once they get outside, he gets cocky and gets clocked with a piece of 4x2.
Yes. That's you.
Yeah, but only temporary, dazed. Most of us would be in hospital with a crushed skull, but he was
But
only
this is no
temporary dazed,
longer-
enough for Mitch to get kidnapped.
Yeah, this is no
Kidnapped.
longer Bill Hunter, right? He's out of the picture. He's
That's right.
back there
Yep.
having a jolly good time with the bar fight and enjoying himself, or maybe he's reviving his lady.
Yep.
But
He
he's
was
out
only-
of the picture, and it's now the Mad Max gang.
It's
that
the
is-
getaway. Mitch and Harris have the information that they needed, that the bad guy was there with another guy, and they'd left. So they're trying to escape, clocked on the head. Mitch gets shoved in a truck, and then the Mad Max chase ensues.
Yeah, that's
So the Mad Max chase that they do next is also the Raiders. Is it Raiders? Yeah, it's Raiders,
Raiders.
Of the Lost Ark.
Yeah, it's got a flavour of that. If you took
Flavour?
if you took the Raiders of the Lost Ark car chase, where he sort of uses the whip to crawl up onto
It's the
the
one where
truck,
they're fighting on the truck.
that's right. If you take that scene and you cross it with Mad Max with the sped up cars and country road scenery and everything, you've got exactly the scene.
Okay, but if you took the sped up scene from Mad Max and removed the sped up, you would then be closer to the actual scene that we see in the movie.
Yeah, there is one scene where the Jeep catches up to the back of the truck. Clearly that's about 50% sped up. But yes, it's got the guys clinging to the truck and they jump onto the Jeep, and it's very Mad Max 2.
We have two people on the back of the truck, two people in the front of the truck with
Yep.
Mitch.
Yep.
One guy is driving, the other one is fingering her.
Yeah. And
And-
she's tied to the dashboard of the truck.
Oh, that's right. She's tied. She's into bondage, as Dakota
Like
jokingly
this.
remarks.
Yes.
There's two guys at the back of the truck, and they've got a big barrel with them. But so, how does the first guy fall off the truck? He somehow lands and rolls into the electric fence.
No,
Yeah.
no. He tries to jump off the truck. In fact,
Yes.
Dakota Harris kind of, I don't know, he's doing some weird acting and he's just like driving along. It's a bit like a sort of a Sunday drive. And, I think he motions for the guy to jump off the truck onto the
First
Jeep.
guy
Yeah.
misses the Jeep or something. The guy lands on the road. The
Yes.
guy lands on the road and goes, "Oh, I'm fine. I'm still good." Then the other guy on the truck throws the barrel.
Yes.
The barrel lands on the road, and Lieutenant Harris drives the car and swerves
Bumps
it a
the
little,
barrier.
bumps the barrel so that it flies into the air
And hits the guy that fell
and
off in
hits
the first
the guy
place.
who fell off and smashes and kills him.
Yes. There might be some scientific issues with the logic behind it.
And the other guy who jumps onto his Jeep, he punches him off or something or other, and he
Punches him
rolls into an electric fence. and
Yes.
gets
Million volt
Yes.
electric fence.
Yes, and you definitely got the smell of
4 million volt electric fence that has unlimited power. It's probably plugged into the ancient aliens thing.
somebody piped up in the production meeting and said, We should zap.
We should amp that one.
We
up
should
a bit.
zap this guy. We shouldn't just have him land in a paddock. Let's have him hit a electric fence so we can put some smoke come off him and have some zappy sparks.
So the next bit they go into after that little preamble is they go into basically the identical fight from Raiders.
Yeah.
Right? Except it's just slow.
Yeah.
The trucks are probably going at about 16 kilometres an hour down the road.
Yep.
But in addition to that, the editing is just... when I'm watching it, I'm like thinking just 1 frame, 2 frames make a big difference, right? Because in like Raiders, you go and watch it and it's like bang, punch, bang, psh, boom, react, bow, ow, bang, punch. This one, it's like Dakota Harris like sticks his face up in the window and says, hello. And then it's like... And then punch.
Yeah.
And then it's like the other guy like turns to his right and goes, oh.
Yeah.
And then you see the fist. And it's like, God, it's just so slow.
And what's fun is we watch the driver who is constantly got his eye on the road, is just driving like this as if nothing was the matter.
Yeah.
And if you've got John Williams music playing in the background,
We got to talk about the music.
you can get away with some of that stuff, you know, the pacing and that sort of stuff, because you've got this incredible sound, this orchestra soundtrack you're playing in the background. This is not really at that level.
No.
The music fell short throughout the film.
Okay, so Diva, it's got the Indiana Jones theme from another movie.
Oh, there's trumpets.
Right?
Trumpets and...
It's got a very obnoxious, very repetitive theme. It seems like there is a soundtrack. There is 1989.
It's
There was a
discount.
soundtrack from this movie, but it feels like that soundtrack should only be 3 minutes long.
Yeah, and
Because
it's also
the same over and over.
It's thinner as well.
And
you
the
know, a John
melodies-
Williams one would have like loads of instruments all layered all over, like just layered and you know, lush. This one, it's like, you know, there's like, you can count the instruments. There's like 3 of them.
It's like they had a meeting and they said, okay, we'll bring up Indiana Jones. Let's watch that. And they watched it and they got a blackboard out
Yes.
and they said, music, trumpets, cymbal clashes,
Yes.
right? And they picked all this stuff, and then way down the list was themes and melodies. They really skimped out on the themes and melodies.
Yeah.
So
And
anyway,
it was just sounds.
It's very inspired by Indiana Jones music. So they've changed one note to avoid copyright. So it's da 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 or something like that. You know.
Yes.
All right. So it's the slowest fight scene ever.
He managed to get rid of all the bad guys.
Yep.
Just
And-
at the last nick of time, he undoes the rope with his teeth while he's driving the truck.
While one of the bad guys is still hanging off the front of the truck.
Yeah, why the
Just
rope?
like it was in
why the
Raiders.
rope needed to be around her wrists in the first place? Because she was in between the
So
two
he can
goons.
do the bondage joke. He has to say, I didn't know you were
That's
into
why I
bondage."
think it. That's why I think they did it, so they could do the bondage joke. Because this is awkward scene where he's trying to. He's taken over the truck. He's trying to drive the truck, and he's undoing the rope with his teeth
Yep.
while he's trying to drive the truck. And then they
She could have
dive
done
out.
that. Couldn't she have done that with her teeth?
She probably.
She's got teeth
Yes,
too.
that's right.
He's got a gap in it.
It's a quite. What do they call that? The diastema. I think they call it the big. Like Madonna's got one. Big.
I have no idea.
Big barn door gap in front of in between the two front teeth. But anyway, they jump out just in time. The truck crashes into a barn
Filled
explodes.
with kerosene.
and explodes.
And explodes.
We got a lot of exploding barns. In
No, but not
Australia.
before the poor guy who is hanging off the front. They drive
Through a
through a
gate.
metal gate with him
As
on the
well.
front.
Yes. Add insult to injury.
Yeah.
Okay. And then they catch a train to where they need to go.
Well, they need a plane.
And so they catch a train
They
to
go
where
to they go to a billabong somewhere.
Yes,
with,
there is
with
a train.
cackling guy.
There is
There's
train
a train
scene.
in there. They catch a
That's
train.
right.
for
And
some
she's
reason.
walking up around in the train in her 90.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
they
right.
have a
There's a
train
yeah,
shot
yeah.
for
There's
brief
a
time. Yeah,
yeah. There's a
Teases him.
having a
Yeah.
cuddle.
yeah.
Yep.
All right. So they need to get another plane that's not the plane that they had before, but it looks almost exactly like the plane that they had before.
Yeah.
And they're going to fly it.
They get it from some crazy guy that just cackles on a beach.
Yeah.
For no reason whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's not the same. It's a water. It's a seaplane.
Oh, it's a seaplane. No, you're right.
Well,
Again,
no,
very
seaplane,
Mad
actually.
Maxy. In Mad Max, they do the same. He gets the plane from the guy with the
Gyro.
yeah, the
Yeah.
gyrocopter. He sits in the desert and I need your plane.
Yeah.
Here, this guy sits at a billabong and just cackles.
Yeah.
That's all he does. He just the entire time, and then
doesn't want to give him the plane.
Doesn't wanna
They
give him the
offer him
plane.
the money. He says no way. Then they offer him the money and a beer, and he says, yeah, keys are in it.
Okay.
yeah, keys are in the ignition. Take it.
All right, so they're in the plane.
Yep.
And this is where they do the Indiana Jones map overlay, red line,
But only
montage flying.
only this much red line. It
Yes.
just sort of starts and then they edit to somewhere else.
Yeah.
And they're heading to Bora Bora to the original professor's lair, who.
So this is my complaint with this: is they keep going to islands that aren't the
Well, it's the same
end boss
destination-
island.
Same destination as the first flight that was doomed to meet up with the professor to get one part of the tablet.
Okay, so they're going to that island.
Yeah, Bora Bora.
Do they just go there? Does anything happen on the way?
No.
No. Okay.
Well,
so
they're trying to find where the airplane crashed, right? And then they see it from they see the airplane
they see
underwater
the other airplane
in 2
Now
meters
that-
depth.
just to remember.
That's after they go to Bora Bora, though. They go to Bora Bora first, and they find a dead guy with a bullet in his head, and I think he makes the joke that wasn't what's his name? Who's the bad guy?
Savage.
That wasn't Savage because he can't aim that straight. Remember, they find a dead guy on the floor
Yeah,
with
yeah,
a bullet
yeah,
hole in
yeah.
his head, and they also find the dead professor on the stairway.
Yes.
And then he turns on a machine, and then
And then
Magic
the
machine,
yellow orange light comes again, and the storm starts.
So hang on.
Stonehenge model.
So hang on. So they fly the aeroplane. They go to an island. They go to a spooky house, and that's filled with all of this technology or this spooky curses.
Yeah, like the professor's trying to tap into the power.
But
and
it's the island that the professor lives in.
the professor's dead, and some offsider is
No,
also
he isn't.
dead.
He isn't dead.
No, the
You're talking
reverend.
about the reverend.
See,
That's where the reverend was taken, because it's, as it turns out, Savage has all of the pieces he needs except for the one that was at Bora Bora, which is where they were heading in the first place, at the professor's house. So he's got the other two pieces in the crate.
I would beg to differ that he's only got one of those because I think one of
Did
them
he
is
find
actually
the last one in the cave?
one of them is in the boss room at the end. The
At
boss
cave.
level at
You're
the
right.
end.
You're right. So he's got one piece.
Yep, and one's in his aeroplane at the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah.
Well,
In the case at the bottom of
Yes,
the ocean,
yes, that's correct.
next to his aeroplane.
That's correct.
and that's where they're going to go next and get that.
based on the information that the reverend tells them, that you've got to take her with
Yes.
you. 'Cause
Yes.
she knows all about
Yeah, she
the
knows-
curse and
yeah.
everything and where to go, and she knows where the cave is.
She reads in the library,
And
everything.
she throws a knife like Jack Burton. Because
Yes.
when Lieutenant Harris starts the trigger and starts the whole orangey light thing again,
Yep.
she picks up a knife. There's some magneticism happens because the knife flies out of his holster,
And just misses
just
her.
misses her, hits the
Oh,
ball
that's
next to
right.
her.
Yes, yes.
And then in order to turn off the machine, she grabs that knife
Yep.
and dead center,
Hits the
throws
switch.
it into the switch and turns off the machine.
Yep. So now they know they've got to find the box that Harris threw overboard.
So they're going to get Harris in his scuba gear as a frogman,
Yep.
and he goes down to the bottom of the ocean, and he's going to rummage around and.
Did we skip a scene where she knocked out a guard, or is that still coming?
That was when they
No.
first
No, we skipped that
stole.
one.
No. Well,
Well, they stole a plane to go to Ayers Rock.
Mr. Hughes sees me.
Yeah, that was a nice scene because it shows how much of a pussy Lieutenant Harris is.
Yeah.
Like the poor guard wants to do him a solid and says, "Okay, take the plane, but at least punch me in the face so I get a shining."
so I've got an excuse.
So I've got an so to show that I did my duty. And bloody pussy says, "Nah, I can't do that."
Yeah, can't do that.
And goes in the airplane.
Yeah.
Lets the poor sucker stand there.
Yeah. And she
And
cleans him up.
thankfully,
She clocks him. Boom.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got Frogman Harris down at the bottom of the ocean, looking around for his box with the missing MacGuffin that he threw in there before.
Guys, we also skipped about when they're flying the airplane and the
Well, when
motor-
they were going to
the
Ayers
motor
Rock,
the motor gets shot.
they're attacked by a
No.
fighter. They're attacked by a fighter on the way to Ayers Rock.
Let's not worry about that. We'll go back.
I don't think we should spend much time on it. Just know that at some point it crawls out of the cockpit, leaves her to fly a plane having never flown before,
That's when they stayed in the
crawls onto the wing, switches off the fuel to the engine, thus turning out the fire, and then coming back in, and at some point just sort of sky surfing
by somebody in
in a fighter.
a lightning. I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and I do think it's worth mentioning this only for the one thing is his reaction while he's flying the plane and now he realizes that the motor is burning and that he has to go outside. What is his reaction? What does the script dictate he has to say when he notices it's going to It's going to involve me going up.
He's scared of heights.
His exact words are,
Oh, yes, that's right. He does too. He does this weird groan. And I think it's because he's scared of heights. He reveals it in the
this is our
film.
hero.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
He's a famous pilot. He loves flying, but he's scared of heights.
Yes, yeah.
That's ironic. Isn't it?
The performance that what's his name gives Dakota Harris is
John Hargreaves.
it's not inspiring, really. He is a bit moany, isn't he? He's a bit, and he is also mumbly.
Yeah.
Like, come on, let's go, everybody. You know,
His delivery of his one-liners aren't the best. It might have been a favour for the producer.
all right. Let's continue. Otherwise, we'll never get through this.
Yep.
So they're down on the bottom of the ocean. He's got to get the MacGuffin back.
Yes, he's got to get the crate.
Now,
he locates
meanwhile-
it.
He locates it. Meanwhile, Mitch is still in the aeroplane, the land on the water aeroplane,
Waiting for the tug on the rope.
tug on the rope to pull up the MacGuffin.
Yes.
Yep.
When from out of nowhere,
Yeah, exactly.
In a
Where's the
on a
outside?
rowboat in the middle of the ocean,
Yes.
it's Savage.
Where's his plane?
I don't
Right?
know.
Because they steal the floating plane.
At least he had a little person to help him row.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So anyway, and he's got a gun.
And not Harris,
Savage.
Savage decides to leave him to the sharks.
So Mitch has to pull up the MacGuffin
Yep.
because Harris is still in the frogman in the bottom of the ocean.
Yes. The bad guy is going to steal the plane and the MacGuffin
Yes.
and Mitch.
Yep.
And everybody's off to Easter Island.
Yes. So they take off the ocean on their
That's correct.
aeroplane.
Yes. What happened to Harris?
Well, they left him on. They thought they left him on the bottom of the ocean.
There wasn't-
But Harris had watched the Indiana Jones movie. That's what they didn't bank on.
Yeah. Yep. Clinging to the float, the pontoon, yes.
He's like Harris with like a cheesy grin. He's like, "It's me,
Yeah.
it's me."
Yeah.
And then he's
and
got
he
the
puts his
frogman
mask
thing. Yeah. It's me. I'm actually on the plane.
Yeah.
He has
Yeah.
a smile on the wave, and then he puts his mask down against the wind.
Yes. It
And
got
by-
quite campy, didn't it?
And by some awesome planning, I'm sure it was awesome planning, the only person who noticed that a black object attached to the white wing
Yep.
was Mitch.
At least for continuity, when that plane took off from the ocean, there was a person clinging, whether it was
There
a
was.
dummy or not, but somebody was clinging to that pontoon. They didn't just cut to. So I think they actually filmed that plane flying with a real person clinging to that wing. And the earlier shot where he's walking on the wing, I think they filmed it all. There was no special visual
it
effects.
wasn't green screen.
That's
Yeah.
possibly
It was
true.
live.
These are real stuntmen.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and if it is the same production team that were involved with Mad Max, that stunt team is renowned for the crazy shit they used to do.
That's,
I mean, I actually thought this. We skipped over the airplane bit, but the bit where he was actually on the wing of the airplane was actually well done.
Yeah.
It was a good stunt.
Yeah.
And
There was tension.
The bullet holes in the plane were obviously fake. It was
Yeah.
a bit shit, but the actual stunts and the cinematography was fine.
He did get shot in the arm by what could only be imagined as a 50 caliber bullet.
yes, you can just imagine.
Clean off.
A fighter airplane like shoots you, and it's like, oh, it's only a flesh wound.
Yeah.
Luckily,
And he makes no mention of it later.
Yeah,
And
that's
later on,
right.
there's no wound to it.
yeah, like his journal and his bullet wound. It's like, whatever.
It's but merely a
Moving on.
flesh wound. Move on. So yes, he dives off the pontoon when they land. So they don't know. Bad guy does not know that he is there, but Mitch does.
Yes, but Mitch does. Yeah. And then, of course, he appears on the beach with all his clothes back on.
with all his
No, they
clothes
do.
on and dry.
No,
right?
they include one shot back at the plane. So we see the Nemesis henchmen dragging the crate
Yeah.
to the cave, and then they cut back for a single shot that lasts about 3 seconds of the plane anchored in a bay somewhere, and then the very next shot you see him. So we have to postulate that he has swum over to the plane to put his clothes back on.
But then didn't swim out of the plane with his clothes on. So did he?
So they
did
should be
did
wet.
He carefully
He's
carry
on
them
the
over
beach.
his
Yeah.
head as
Yeah.
he swam to
Yeah.
shore, and then dumped them carefully in
Well,
the sand.
once
and then-
again, there were 2 people that died earlier
And
between one cut. because he's got literally all of his clothes, and there's no way he was wearing that under his wetsuit. He would have looked like the Michelin Man.
See, this is why I say this movie's got this don't show or tell theme happening in this movie, you know? All right.
Yes.
We're almost there to the audience who is the crazy people.
We're finally on location in Easter Island.
We're at the boss level. We're at the boss level. So Savage and his offsider
Find the cave.
have Mitch, and they're dragging the box up to the cave, and they're going to do the thing. So they go into the cave
and release the girl before they go into the cave.
She's no longer
We don't need
That's
her
right,
anymore, and she
yes.
just runs away.
Yes, that shouldn't be a problem. Let's keep moving forward.
That's right. And the offsider needs to be dispatched of as well, so he just falls
immediately.
off,
Yes.
conveniently falls into a hole.
Yes.
And yes, the offsider falls in a hole and disappears.
Yeah.
And I was like, was that the best use of that character?
We needed somebody to row the rowboat.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
He was equivalent to the offsider for Indiana Jones at the start of
Yeah, that's exactly what he was.
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah.
But at least in Indiana Jones, he had a role. He was
He set off the traps.
He was the guide.
Betrayed.
and he betrayed.
Yes.
He attempted to
And he got
betray.
his comeuppance.
And he got his comeuppance.
by being
So
beheaded, I think.
There was a sort of a payoff with it. But
Yeah.
this one, he just like falls in a hole and disappears.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
So then the heroes enter the very same boss level cave. So Harris is hooked up with Mitch.
Yep.
And they're marching around there. And then Mitch falls in a hole.
Mitch falls in a hole, and Harris, I believe.
They both
fall
but
down a chasm.
There's a column, a rock column that they hold on to, which falls with them and then
Yes.
blocks, goes over the hole. And it's a bit, 20 centimeter diameter rock column.
Yeah.
And he holds on to that and she holds on to him.
Yep.
And she progresses to climb over him and out.
Yeah.
So they're on Easter Island. They've fallen into a hole, and then they just find all this magical stuff.
Including snakes in a cave.
Oh, yeah, there's all that
God,
snake
yes.
and stuff, yeah.
Why did it have to be snakes?
Yes.
Yes, exactly. And there's like holograms, and there's ancient artifacts. They find the treasure room of the ancient aliens.
There's
Yes.
hologram airplanes flying at them and lasers.
Yep.
But it's all not real. It's all, not harmful.
Yeah.
And this has my favourite line in the whole movie. And for people who might have just perked up with a little bit of anticipation there, it's not amazing. It's just normal, right? It's that's why I like it, because it rised up to being okay, And the line is that Mitch says, "There's a whole library down here," and Harris is like, "You can read it later. Let's keep moving." And I just thought, that was nice. It was simple. It was well acted. It was well executed. All
But
right.
completely unnecessary. Didn't do anything for the story.
Possibly unnecessary. What I was hoping, actually, was that the bad guy who fell down the hole earlier,
Yes.
they'd come across him.
Yes.
And they'd have some interaction.
Same hole.
Yeah.
But there was no sign of him when they went down the hole.
Yeah.
They did find all the corpses of the original Idaho crew, didn't they?
Yeah, but they,
So anyway, we're now running out of story. We're down to the boss level. We've got all of the MacGuffins in one place.
Yep.
The bad guys there, the heroes there, the heroines
He's putting
there.
the pieces together, literally.
He's putting the pieces together so he could get ultimate power.
Mm-hmm.
Not too concerned with the curse. And then, I don't know, what happens?
Well, then the bad guy touches the tablet, dies, and the movie's over.
Yeah. Yeah. He,
right.
he literally melts.
Yeah.
Right.
And-
Raiders of the Lost Ark-esque.
Yep.
it's right at the lost.
He doesn't quite melt, because I was expecting that. I was expecting exactly that melting scene.
Yeah.
He sort of
on fire.
catches fire,
Catches
and then he's
fire.
an ashen.
It looked more like
dead guy.
he became lava, then solidified almost in the same
Yeah.
cutaway. So when we cut back, he was solidified lava
So there was a bit
with
more.
drippy bits.
The pieces of the broken MacGuffin all sort of joined up, and there was lots of light, and then he was like touching it at the time, and so he kind of cooked, like you said. And then it all was a bit of earthquakey stuff, and then it kind of stopped, and everybody went home.
Yeah, they literally just walked out. Yeah.
I think that the place kind of crumbled, and it's now lost forever.
Yeah.
There's no way.
It's back where it belongs. Let's leave. And they
Yes.
have a bit of a scene on the beach where he throws his Lucky Charm into the water, and she goes, "Oh, don't throw away your Lucky Charm." And then he throws it away and says, "I won't. Keep her.
I'll keep her right
Keep her
with me.
Yes.
referring to Mitch. And then they do the pash,
Yeah.
which she
they
wasn't.
even?
She wasn't giving him the pash on the train. Remember, she said, "No, that's later." Remember, there was this
Vaguely.
hold off moment in the train while she's running around the train in her negligee.
Yeah, that's right. All right.
So yes, and then they fly off it literally into the sunset.
Yep. And that's it. And it finishes.
There was a bit of continuity issue in when the tablets were first found in ye olde day. There was a massive slab of rock that fell on the opening of the cave.
Okay.
There was no
Ah.
blocked entry to the cave when they found it at the end of the movie. They just walked in.
Yep. You know, part of the curse or the ancient aliens or maybe the untold power.
Yep.
One of those things probably did that.
Yep.
So I don't know. That kind of wraps it up. Any thoughts on the cinematography or the acting or any summarizing thoughts?
Cinematography is difficult because there could have been a bit of gold in there if we weren't watching such a poor quality version.
Yeah.
They put a lot of effort into the special effects and the stunts and the crazy sequences that they were
Yep.
going for.
Yep.
That
They
was
did
pretty
4 plane takeoffs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the planes are
Oh,
good.
there was yeah.
They had actual
Again,
World War
money.
II aeroplanes that they were
yeah,
flying
well,
around.
They were well photographed. And I thought the actual action on the wings when he was walking around on the
Maybe
wings was
the
good.
editing in some. The lift scene is a prime example of really just bad
Yeah, the
cinematography
detail.
plus editing because it's just not clear what is happening.
And
I'll
the
put it-
pacing, add the pacing to the editing and the cinematography. All of those were like,
I'll put a theory forward, and
Okay.
this has sort of been proven out in the past with cinema. There's a very good reason why they don't let actors in the editing room, right? And it's a related reason why the person in control of editing really shouldn't be the producer of the film.
And it's because
They spend all their money
visibility.
shooting all of these shots. They won't throw anything away. And that's how you get the slow fight sequences that are cut way too long. So the theory is the guy that produced this film, who also directed it and also wrote it,
he wrote it, he didn't direct it. But
I think he had a lot to do with the editing.
yeah, he did. He was
possibly
credited.
too much to do with the editing.
Absolutely.
Yes.
All right.
And the film suffers as a result.
Acting, script, story.
Story terrible.
Yeah, acting's not great.
Yeah.
really.
The premise of the story's fine.
Great.
Right? You could have done something with the premise of the
Yeah, I
story.
think so. Yeah.
They could have cut out a few things, try to simplify the story, just
Yeah, it's
clean it
too
up a little bit.
Acting isn't great, but it's also not horrible. It's just sort of meh.
Yes.
Yes.
It's not stand out.
I think it's similar to what they did with the music. They worked out they wanted to do a movie blah, got out the blackboard, said we want to include this. We need a fight on a truck. We need this. All right, make a script that incorporates all those things, like a Michael Bay movie, right? He does the same thing.
Yep.
Now, Brian May, who is the guy who wrote the music,
Oh, you have to do the joke.
is
It's Brian May, not that one.
Yes,
It's not
you're
that
right.
one.
In brackets, parentheses.
it's not that Brian May wrote the music for Mad Max.
Yes, that's right.
It's the same guy.
The music wasn't
But when
bad.
you listen to the music for Mad Max, you will hear the same soundtrack that was
really?
in this film.
Oh, right.
Take the,
music-
time next time to listen to the music that's going on in Mad Max. It's
I thought the
exactly
music
same.
was okay. It was just that it was trying to copy somebody else's music.
Yeah.
That was a bit wrong. And it was just all very thin. It was just not really lush. It
Yeah.
wasn't really, yeah.
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 Well, gentlemen, let's rate it, right? Our rating system, buy, borrow, burn. Where do you stand, Dan?
All right. Now, I have a minor, I don't want to not too long.
Buy, borrow, burn.
You know the uncanny valley. I've got to say this. I've
Yes,
got to say
yes.
this. You know the uncanny valley.
Yes.
That's as you get closer and closer and closer to perfection. There's a kind of a dip when you're almost there, and then it suddenly
turns into
goes
creepy.
It turns creepy, and then it goes good
Yes,
again, right?
yes.
With faces typically.
We deal
This
with
is-
this with animation and photorealistic characters.
Yeah, right. There's the
I'm really
uncanny.
going with this, but it's,
So this is the uncanny valley, right? So you better. Something goes horrible, and then it gets really good, right? I'm coining a new phrase
Yes.
for this movie, which is the uncanny mountain. And that's with B movies.
Right.
As they get worse, there's this spike where all of the bad things, all of the frequencies of the bad things start to align, and it suddenly becomes a really good movie.
So
right?
good, so bad it's good.
So bad it's good.
Yeah.
But there's a little tail on the other end of that spike.
Yes.
And this movie has slid past
Yes.
the uncanny mountain.
Fell off the mountain.
Yes.
And is in, and the biggest problem with it is that it's just kind of boring.
Yeah.
So it is Burn.
Yeah. What about you, Tom?
If it was a standalone film all on its own, I would consider it a borrow. But seeing as I can just watch Mad Max and Indiana Jones instead and have more fun with those, I'd have to put it a burn as well.
It has to stand in the company of what was around at the time. It can't stand in the company of the films that are around today. That would be unfair. But when you think of the films that were being produced, like an Australian film that was made around the same time was Man from Snowy River. And it was a stunning masterpiece. This thing is not even close, right? And I think it's closer to Mad Max. The Mad Max, Miller is a visionary, right? And he went on to, with a bit of budget, when you go to Mad Max 2, he really started to see his vision and really started to build a world around Mad Max. But the close relationship of Mad Max to this film is uncanny.
It is. Yeah, I can feel it. Yeah.
For me, it's a there's not a bonfire pit big enough. There's just not.
Yes.
Right, life's too short. I can't get that time back, and I had to watch it twice.
I had to watch it multiple times. I think Tom, when I was talking with you, was like, "Have you watched the movie?" And Tom's like, "Yeah, I'm halfway through it," which means you stopped multiple times for a breather.
Well, the
for a
answer to that
few
question
days.
is
I
the
did
same
watch it
grunt
twice now,
that
but
Harris
now I've watched
made
it
on the
too.
plane.
I thought it was better than Buck Rogers. It was-
Okay.
Oh, what?
Ooh.
Oh,
Yeah,
gosh,
no,
that's fighting words.
Yeah, I did. I thought Buck Rogers was a burn.
Yeah,
Burn may be a borrow. I mean, if you're interested in Australian history, Australian
Cinema history, yes.
It's got some interesting bits.
yeah.
If you like aeroplanes, it's got some nice aeroplanes.
From that perspective, it does save itself from the burn pile, from the burn barrel, a little bit, but it's still a burn for me. So you're a borrow.
No, not a burn.
Doesn't rise to borrow.
After all the good words, going for bat
I'm
for
saying
it,
it's burn,
but it's still a
going in
burn.
the direction of borrow.
Yeah,
If certain people might want to borrow it,
yeah.
but for everyone else, no.
But we're asking you, Tony.
Watch it again. There's no way I'll watch it again.
So yes, don't borrow it. Watch it on YouTube in all its glory, including commercial cutaway points proving that it was, and it was. I think it's 4:3.
Oh yeah,
It's 4:3 on YouTube as well.
I think you watched a different version because what I see in your screen, the little 7 thing, I didn't see in my YouTube link.
Oh,
There must
didn't
be-
you?
Must be multiple ones on the tube.
Yeah, there's 2.
Now I have a quick addendum before we wrap up
Can I
the.
just say one thing also? It's called Sky Pirates. Most of it's not set in the sky.
Yep.
I know pirates.
There are
in
no
it.
pirates.
There's sky. There's airplanes.
Yes.
But the
There
most
is
of it
sky
is-
in
The
the
main
film.
character wears this
He
fighter
does, yeah, he
jacket
does, but
all the
bulk of
time.
Yeah.
film isn't set in the sky.
No,
very
there's no
true.
pirates.
Okay, my quick addendum to that is thinking about having this discussion in the past. I went and did a bit of research. So, Rotten Tomatoes and all of that, it scores really low on all of those things.
really?
Strange, I know. Interestingly, it scores slightly higher if a place is selling it, right? So if you can buy it on DVD, it
Yes.
suddenly becomes a
Ooh.
38.5 out of 100, you know? So, well, Netflix or something or other, yeah, it suddenly creeps up just a little bit, which I found was interesting.
You might have touched on a phenomenon that exists in the world, Dan.
But yes, strange phenomenon, who knows? But I did find another strange phenomenon.
Yeah.
And that was when I was hunting around YouTube to find it, because that's how we watched it, because there's sort of free versions on YouTube. There's multiple versions up on YouTube, and I was comparing them, and one had 67 views, one had 85 views, one had 36 views, and one had 220,000 views.
Ooh. Nice.
And so, yes, ooh, nice. So what was the deal there? It's Russians. Russians were watching the hell out of the movie, and they're all in their Cyrillic Russian language. All like, oh, that's pretty good. It's a bit
So
like Indiana Jones,
possibly-
but yeah, I kind of liked.
Possibly Dakota Harris got a release in Russia in the 80s, and it is because everything's comparative. What were movies like in Russia in the 80s?
They might not have had anything else to choose from.
They might not have liked the American propaganda.
maybe.
Indiana Jones
It was
saves the
dubbed-
world.
It was dubbed in Russian as well.
So possibly having an Australian Indiana Jones got through the censors, and there's a nostalgic connection.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
So anyway, that's my addendum. Okay.
Or it's all Russian bots.
Or it's 220,000 Russian bucks. Yes.
Nice. All right, gentlemen. So I've got 10 questions to
Yes.
test you. Now, Tom, if you remove that buzzer from where it's lashed to the desk at the moment, I'll remove your left pinky.
I would like to keep my left pinky, please.
Put your hand on the buzzer so you can reach it. Prove it. Yep. So you can push that buzzer when I ask the question. Do not remove the buzzer from that tether. Same with you, Dan, because both of you did it last week, and then I had to play this game of working out whose buzzers was whose relative to my numbers.
Okay, we messed up your system.
System was gone.
All right.
All right, let me turn this on.
I'm feeling lucky, punk. Let's go.
All right, so we've got 10 questions. Judge's decision is final. If you buzz in, I will activate your buzzer shortly, and when I ask a question and you buzz in, if you get the question wrong, you'll be locked out and the remaining two people can buzz in to do the next attempt at the same question. Make sense? Am I bored?
Yeah.
There's a lot of
We know
rules.
it. We know it. Get on with the questions.
There's a lot of rules.
Where's my prize?
All right, gentlemen. Question number 1. What year was the stone tablet discovered? Tom,
1886.
that's correct.
Damn it.
Question number 2. Who wrote and composed the music for the film? Tom.
Must have been first. Come on.
Brian, not the real Brian May.
The joke is Brian May.
The,
not-
the Australian Brian
yes,
May.
that's right. And I would have also accepted Brian May, not that one.
Not that one.
Another one for Tom. Question number 3. What number was printed on the transport plane lost in the mysterious void?
Oh, God.
The plane they went down in.
Is it like... I'm trying to think of famous planes that have a number that...
Has anyone buzzed in?
No.
No.
So,
Can you give us a hint?
well, you certainly can't answer a question with a question,
Okay.
right?
Give us a hint.
It is a letter.
What is the number?
It is a letter and a number.
I'm just going to guess VI, number 6.
All right,
Roman letters.
All right, Tom, you're out.
Worth a shot.
Can I have more hints?
No.
If you added 1 to the number, what would it be? Can you give me that hint?
Well, what I'll do is I'll give you the letter.
It's a hint I could work with.
I'll give you the letter, and both of you can guess a number from 1 to 10. Closest one wins.
Oh, 85.
No one's buzzed in. Oh, Dan.
85.
B5.
Actually,
Points,
No, it's B5.
points go to Tony.
Failed.
Yes. Points go to Tony.
you got to know it when you look.
Yeah, stop looking at the screen. All right, question number 4. What well-known holiday destination did the float plane come from?
Oh, God.
It was printed on the side of the plane. No takers? It's an Australian well-known holiday destination.
On the coast?
Tony,
Gotta give us a hint. Gotta give us a
Tony?
hint.
Cairns.
Right state, wrong location, so you're out.
No, so we're in Queensland.
Dan,
Townsville.
incorrect. Tom, you can have the last guess.
Brisbane.
No. It was the Whitsundays. It literally said Whitsundays charters.
I think my YouTube version didn't have that kind of resolution.
No, I knew you would say anything.
And I'm pretty sure towards the end of World War II, the Whitsundays didn't have charters, but the float plane had to come from somewhere. They just left a sticker on it. All right, no points for that question. Question number 5. Complete this sentence. Let me finish the sentence before you buzz in.
Okay.
He who disturbs the sacred moai will feel blank. Dan?
The curse?
Incorrect. Dan's locked out.
They said it so many times.
He
They
who
even wrote it down.
He who disturbs the sacred moai will feel
The power?
The wrath of God.
Tony.
No.
Sorry,
Not the rough.
Tom.
Yeah, the wrath of what?
You said the wrath of God.
No, I didn't because Dan said that's wrong. So
All right.
what's right, Dan?
The wrath of the aliens.
The wrath of
no,
the
it is.
alien. No,
Okay.
no.
Yeah, there's no wrath. You're out, so it's up to you, Tony. Got anything?
Watch. Just stall and watch the screen.
The curse of the
Moai?
Moai.
No points. The answer is the hand of death.
The hand of death.
He who disturbs the sacred moai will feel the hand
They
of
said
death.
it about that was the single most repeated thing
And it was
in the whole
written
film,
in
and
the
it was written
professor's-
in the
Yeah.
professor's
See, I
thing.
blame
yes,
the
we should
movie.
know.
It's got Hand of Death, it's got curses, it's got aliens in it.
All right. So currently we've got Tom on 2, Tony on 1, Dan yet to score. Question number 6. What colour was Harris's scuba tank? Tom.
Orange, like
Orange
the light
is
from the
correct.
tablets.
Tom's a runaway. Question number 7. What happened to Harris and Melanie's eyes when they fell down the chasm? Tony.
Orange. They went orange, didn't they? Or no, green. They changed colour.
They started looking.
They blurred.
I'm going to lock you out, but I'm willing to accept it if no one gives me the exact answer. All right.
I think Dan buzzed it early and didn't count, so I think
So
we should.
buzz in if you have the answer. Dan,
They glowed.
I have to give it to Dan.
Yeah. Victory.
They went white, but they glowed.
I'll correct myself. They glowed for no reason at all.
Yes. Well, blacklight was probably the reason. They offset.
Well, no story reason.
Dan's on the board with 1.
Hey.
What was the nickname of the guard Melanie knocked out?
Oh, God.
Dan.
Bluey.
No. But you had a reasonable chance.
Bugger.
Yeah.
Any takers?
Nah, none.
His name was Apple.
Apple?
Because his real name was Appleton.
Yes, Apple.
And
Keep smiling.
Harris used his name Apple when he met him at the gate the first time, but also when she knocked him out.
Yeah.
So you people didn't watch the film at all.
I wasn't
Concentrated on more important things.
Question number 9. Which famous underwater photography team filmed the underwater scenes for the film? Dan.
Jacques Clouseau.
That's a famous comedic detective.
Pink Panther.
I'm sticking with it. Jacques Clouseau.
Clouseau.
You mean Cousteau?
Cousteau. No, I meant Clouseau.
No. All right. I'll change it for the remaining. You're out, Dan. Which famous underwater photography team from Australia filmed the underwater scenes?
Ask us where it was filmed, and I can tell you, but don't ask me who.
No takers?
Nah.
It was filmed by Ron and Valerie Taylor, who also filmed the underwater scenes for Jaws. And she's a very famous underwater great white shark activist. You don't know who Valerie Taylor is?
I vaguely know it.
Yeah,
but
she's one of Australia's most famous underwater cinematographers or film artists, and she's been diving with sharks. She might not be around anymore, but her and her husband have filmed a lot of underwater sequences for a lot of films. They might have even shot some of the underwater stuff for the James Bond movie, where he's diving on that ship with lots of sharks. But like I said, spurious content may be contained within. No takers. Last question. Currently, we've got Tom on 3, Tony on 1, Dan on 1. Tony and Dan can't win, so this is now a 3-point question.
Oh, gosh. All this for nothing.
Unless you win by 6. Here we go. Who created the mechanical special effects for the film? Tom.
I had to buzz in because otherwise I'd have no chance.
Oh, you don't have the answer?
Rob Botton.
Incorrect. Any other takers? I can give you a clue.
yes, give me a clue.
We all used to work
I didn't get a clue.
We all used to work with him.
Who created?
Oh, not.
No,
There's only one person that comes to mind.
and you're probably thinking exactly the right
Yeah.
one. Who created the mechanical special effects for the film?
If nobody has the answer, can I have another go?
I will give my go to Tom because I do not know what the answer is.
We don't hand
Unless
goes.
it's Jacques Clouseau.
Tom's going to win anyway if we give it to him, and it looks like there's no takers
I'll
on
buzz
it.
in for Tom.
Alan Maxwell,
Oh, really?
yes, that we used to work with.
He's
Really?
the credits.
He started his film. Did you ever meet Alan Maxwell from Sydney campus? He came from. He was a director and producer of TV commercials, but before that, he was a special effects
That's right.
guru.
I'm starting to
He worked
remember
on
now.
Mad Max.
Yes.
He worked on this film.
Yes.
He worked on all of
Oh,
the
he worked
big-
on this film?
all of the moving moai and the spinning stuff, and the guy that hit the electric fence and all that stuff. That would
We'll have to find him on Facebook and hassle him now.
you can see his LinkedIn, and if you go, I think he's a layout artist currently for ILM. I think he's working for one of the big production houses as a CG layout artist.
Okay.
So he's transitioned, and at one point he was at Animal Logic. So he transitioned from special effects back in the day in the 80s to shooting TV commercials into CG, and now really quite successful in CG. I couldn't believe it when I saw it because I was looking for a last question in the 10-question quiz, and I was at a loss. And
I
then the
remember-
credits started to roll, and I saw Alan Maxwell. And
Really?
So I went into IMDb, and it's our Alan Maxwell.
I kind of remember him talking about pyrotechnics and setting up fire things
Yeah.
with gas and pipes and all sorts of crazy
He was quite
stuff.
humble. He never mentioned anything about working on Mad Max.
Oh, he did. I knew that, but I didn't know about this film. No.
So Tom wins the quiz this week on 3 points, and Dan and Tony equal last.
Equal second.
Sorry,
is how
second.
I like
Equal
to-
second.
There were 10 questions, and our total points all added up together to 5.
Yes.
That gives an indication of how interesting
Yes.
it was.
Yes. You need to pay more attention next time, you people.
I did watch it a week ago,
Yeah.
over a week ago. And
Yeah. And
All right.
It is blurry.
and for good reason. All right, gentlemen. That's it for our dive into the Australian adventure film Sky Pirates, or Dakota
Harris.
Harris in certain markets, 1986 Australian film. What we want to do is put out an invitation to anybody that gets a buzz out of listening to some morons waffle about
Pointless stuff.
pointless stuff in cinema to leave a comment. Like and subscribe to the channels and the podcast feeds, and let us know if you've got any ideas for the show or feedback about the show. I certainly won't read them, but Dan will, and he'll pass on the stuff that doesn't damage me. And I don't think there's anything else. So until next time, that's bye from me.
Bye.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Bye bye.